What's up, everyone? All right, so in today's episode, I'm going to break down my trades from the morning. Right now, I'm looking at GPUS. This is currently up 64% on the day, but is it an A quality setup? I'd have to say no. It doesn't have fresh news, and the relative volume is fairly low because I had such high volume 2 days ago. Now, I did trade it, but I wasn't super confident in it, and as a result, I was forced to take smaller share size. One of the things that sometimes I'll notice you guys will say is, Ross, you lay out the criteria for an A quality setup, and then I see you turn around and trade something that's B quality or C quality. So let me just kind of preface this recap by breaking down for you a couple things. Number one, my 5 criteria for an A quality setup is that the stock should be priced between 2 and 20. It should be at least up 10% on the day. It should have a relative volume ratio of 5. Number 4, it should have breaking news. Now, that's the one that in a hot market, I can do without the breaking news, but the others are really important. And then number 5, the float, or the number of shares available to trade, should be less than 20 million shares. Less than 10 is better. In fact, less than 5 and less than 1 is even better because the lower the level of supply, the greater the imbalance between supply and demand can be. Now today, GPUS has 40 million shares of volume, and the total float, the number of shares available to trade, is less than 500,000 shares. So it's got 80 times float rotation. There's so much more demand than available supply that it creates that rapid rate of change, and naturally, what we see here is a big move. But the fact is, GPUS already kind of had its moment in the spotlight, and that was on, Tuesday? Or Monday. So yeah, it was on Monday. This came out with news, and it popped up here from $1 all the way up to $4, which was fantastic. It pulled back, it popped up, and it just kept going higher all the way up to $9 a share. Then it ended up pulling back after hours on Monday. Tuesday, it sold off a little bit. And then today, boom, it's popping up. Now, my whole issue with this from the very beginning right here was that I don't really trust it because there is no news. Now, on Monday, the volume was, 298 million shares. It traded 298 million shares of volume on Monday. That's incredible. And the day before, it had 74,000 shares. So to go from 74,000 shares to nearly 300 million shares is such a crazy spike in relative volume. It's unbelievable. And then yesterday, it traded only 9 million shares. It was pulling back. Traders moved on. They focused on something else. I did too. But then today, as it started to pop up, so far we've got 40 million shares, which is good. And it's certainly higher than the 50-day average, but it's lower certainly than it's certainly lower than the big day on Monday. So we're going to I'll break down my trades on GPUS. At this point, I've sort of taken my foot off the gas. I'm like, I don't know, the MACD's gone negative. I don't feel like I can trust it anymore. I've taken a couple stabs that didn't really work, so I'm just going to leave it alone. But before we go over GPUS, let's go back to my first trade of the day. So when I first sat down this morning, my routine each day is basically the same. These scanners are doing all the heavy lifting for me. They're searching the market for stocks that generally meet my criteria for being worthy of trading. And so one of the first stocks that was on the scans this morning was NCEW. NCEW started to pop up, and the first thing I noticed on the daily chart when I zoomed out is that it's a somewhat recent IPO. The initial public offering was back here in December. And so I marked out the high from the IPO as $4.15. So right there, $4.15. Okay, so as it started to squeeze up, all of a sudden, this thing is hitting the scanners, it's surging higher, and I looked at it and I saw that there was news on it. So it pops up to 3 right here, then it pulls back, then surges up to 380, then it pulls back, then it surges up to 460, then it pulls back, and I got in right here on this next wave. So I got in right there at 447, added at 440, it squeezed up to 460, 480, up to 5, up to 520, 550, 580. Then it does a micro pullback and it squeezes all the way up to $6 a share. Again, a bigger dip here, but rallies back up, breaking through 6, going up to 640. over 640 up to 660, 680. This thing squeezes all the way up to over $7 a share. I made $26,000 on it in the first 15 minutes of trading. So that gave me a huge cushion on the day. Now, I was hoping to take that cushion and get a couple more really nice trades and be sitting with a $50,000, $60,000 green day. But as you can see, that didn't happen. I'm up 33,000. No complaints. That's a really good day. But, I didn't get another stock as good as this. And that's what's been a little surprising. That, each day we've been seeing usually one really good move like this and then a few other decent moves. But it's just surprising that, I don't know, that we haven't had, in a way, more of these moves, given how strong the market seemingly is. So NCEW traded this one, got some good trades on it, and then it started to roll over. And it started to stair-step down. And I was like, all right, well, stair-stepping down. My last trade on it was trying to do this double bottom, and then it wasn't able to hold. So anyways, let it go, sold off, kind of rallied back up a little bit coming into the open, but I didn't trade that. I said it would really need to get back over VWAP for me to trade it, and I left it alone. So ASST was the next stock that popped up on the scanner. And my initial feeling on it was it's a little cheap. I don't know what we're going to get on it. And you could see I only made $2,000. So I traded ASST, and I'll pull up the trade that I finally took on it. All right, so I ended up getting in at $1.50. All right, so what was the setup on this one? So we had squeezed up, pulled back, popped up, pulled back. I got in right there for the break over at $1.50. Made $2,000 on that little trade. Goes sideways, did not take this trade. The MACD was pretty firmly negative there. I wasn't sure about it. And then at the open, it halted up, then it halted down, then it halted up once, twice, 3 times, halted down, halted back up, halted down, halted back up. Right now, it's resumed trading. So the problem with ASST is that the halt bands are every 15 cents. So you have a 30-cent band. All right. Now, the reason is because the stock closed below 75 cents yesterday. So when a stock closes below 75 cents, then the halt bands are every 15 cents. Now, if you want to learn more about halt bands, I'll put a link to this page right here, warriortrading.com/circuit breaker halts. And this breaks down in quite a bit of detail the way these halts work. So you could check this out if you're interested in learning more. So in any case, the halt levels on ASST, in my opinion, make it almost untradeable now that the market has opened. But of course, we don't have halt levels pre-market. So there were some opportunities pre-market, but all things considered, I just felt like even this trade here, it ended up going up like 13 cents a share. I mean, that's just not a huge move. So then it goes sideways, then pops up another like 15 cents a share, goes sideways. Now it's like moved up, but through halts, you'd have to be really patient with it. So I just sort of was like, no, I don't think so. And so then GPUS ended up being the last stock that I traded. And I ended up breaking the ice on this a little bit after the opening bell. So we had the open, we had some action pre-market on it. I didn't trade it pre-market. I just sort of was like, nah, I'm not sure. And then at the open here, this is where I took my first trade, the break of 650. I got in at 640. We got this nice squeeze up to 7 right here. Then it pulls back, got back in for the break of 7. We got the squeeze up to 750, and then that was it. So yes, it's been moving a little higher, grinding and chopping a little bit without me. I just, I got to a point where I just felt like, feel like I might be overstaying my welcome on this. I was happy to take a couple trades, but I didn't feel super confident. So only made $4,400 on it, but sitting on the day at $33,675.62 is fantastic. I'm thrilled. I mean, the momentum this week has been great. I'm averaging a solid $35,000 per day this month. So we had Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So up well over $170,000 on the month so far. Now, my goal for each week is about $100,000. So, $100,000 a week, $400,000 a month, sitting almost, getting close to halfway to my monthly goal, and it's May 7th. So this could be one of those months where it's some real fireworks where, even if I can keep just maintaining this average, I mean, that would be a $600,000 month if I can maintain this average. And if I get a couple of trades here and there, or a couple of days where I end up being up $55, $65, $75,000 because we have multiple stocks that are squeezing, then, I mean, who knows? This could be a really incredible month. I don't really think a lot about trying to break records for myself in terms of like, oh, I really want, a month where I make more than X amount of money. My best month ever was over $1 million. So I know that I have done it before. I think I could do it again. But the month that I did that, I had multiple huge green days. I had a lot of base hit days, but I had a couple of six-figure days. And, six-figure days, you only need a few of those to have a fantastic year, but certainly a really impressive month. So, but at this point, my routine is the same every day. I come in here, I sit down, I look at the scanners, I ask myself what currently has momentum, what's moving, and then I try to jump on and ride those waves of momentum as long as I can. Once they kind of die out, then I look for the next stock that's showing some momentum. So I'm quick to jump from stock to stock, in a market where we're seeing that sort of attention shift. Today, I think we have a little bit of dispersed attention where there's multiple stocks that are getting quite a bit of focus. If we look at the volume on the scanners, ASST, ZVSA, which is too cheap for me, AVDX, GPUS, I mean, there's a number of stocks that have over 30 million shares of volume. So some days it'll just be one stock that's super obvious and nothing else is in play. But today we have attention a bit more divided. And that can be a little challenging. Nonetheless, at this point right now, I don't see any reason that I shouldn't be able to have, a couple more nice days to finish off this week. I mean, ultimately, I do need, to have a stock squeezing up. Typically, for it to be an A-quality setup, I'm going to need to see breaking news on it. So if we don't have any breaking news, tomorrow, we sit down and there's nothing at 7, nothing at 7:30, nothing at 8, 8:39, then it's possible that tomorrow I could make nothing. It could be a no trade day. I'm that dependent on companies putting out breaking news. But at this point, I think the odds are pretty strong that we're going to continue to see these companies putting out news. I think a lot of these companies are probably going to try to profit as much as they can on this current cycle of volatility in the market where you're seeing a lot of enthusiasm and exuberance and to a certain extent, people buying stocks at irrationally high prices, which is great for the company. Companies aren't going to complain about that, but they're going to try to capitalize on it, and I think that's probably their obligation, a fiduciary obligation to shareholders. So this is a time where we're going to see more catalysts, more headlines, and I'm going to try to do the best I can, knowing that these hot cycles don't last forever. And that when they cool off, I'm going to have to, hit the brakes, slow down, and batten down the hatches a little bit and be willing to have some no trade days when it's slow. And it feels like a world of difference having $20,000, $30,000 days, and then suddenly I'm struggling to even find one trade to even make a couple $1,000s. But the fact is, as a volatility trader looking for breaking news, if we don't have those breaking news catalysts, I don't have anything to trade. So, I am vulnerable to those cold cycles where companies are holding back on putting out news and, we have to be patient. But, I'm not complaining. I just am kind of keeping it in context that there's ups and there's downs, and that's part of every trader's strategy. I mean, that's just the reality of trading. Nobody makes the exact same amount of money every single day. Day in, day out, month after month, year after year. It just doesn't work that way. And if you want that kind of job, then trading is not for you because trading carries this volatility. But for those that are willing to ride, that kind of wave, we know the ups can be really exhilarating and a lot of fun. And then the downs, well, that's the hardest part about being a trader is coping with the downs, coping with the red days, coping with the slow periods. And you don't get the good without the bad. So, those are the two sides of the coin, and it's part of the package of being a trader. And that's what's going to test you the most, is having the emotional wherewithal, the strength to get through those cold stretches without giving in to emotional impulses and becoming emotionally hijacked and making potentially, career-ending mistakes, which is, you never want to empower one trade to do something like that. So yeah, at this point today, I'm wrapping it up. And tomorrow morning, I'll be sitting down bright and early, watching the scans and looking for something that's squeezing up. So reminder as always, for those of you guys who haven't checked out a 2-week trial at Warrior Trading, I hope you check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it. You'll get a real sense in real time of me putting my strategies that I teach in our classes on display. So I'll put a link in the description in the comments for the 2-week trial, and I'll see you guys back at it first thing tomorrow morning. Reminder as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll put links to a couple long-form episodes here and here and here that I think you guys will enjoy. All right, that's it for me.